Hey everyone, Switch Double here. It has been a while since I did this Q&A video. And like I said before, I was going to do this Q&A video when I was going to reach 8,000 subscribers. And you're going to ask me as many questions you want and basically going to ask me anything you want to know. And I'm actually surprised that I even got a decent amount of questions. I'm very excited to let you know what the answers for each of the questions are. This time, I decided not to wait any longer, so let's start. The first questions are from my friend Zach Plays, also known as Stormy. His question number one is, how did you find your love for MLOP? Well, I wasn't so much looking after MLOP from the start. I mean, I did grow up watching the MLOP G3 on TV, but I wasn't actually aware of the G4. MLOP wasn't around till like 2013, 2014, and I was like in the third or fourth season of Generation 4. But I actually came across the MLOP by just a random accident on YouTube. But it didn't take me another to around 2015 when I decided was actually got inspired to make my own love stories. And that was, I think, probably when it was when I first started doing my stories, when I actually fell, when I found the love for MLP franchise. So, yeah. His second question is, will you bring some of your old music back for your love stories? Actually, I'm afraid not, Stormy. The reasons why I can't bring back some of the old music from my old stories, is I would get copyright. And since that happened to me so many times, I actually lost count. So I'm sorry for that you prefer those old music, but unfortunately I can't bring them back. I don't want to have my channel to be had another copyright or even a second strike. So that is the reason why I'm not bringing back some of the old music. I hope you understand though that, Stormy. And his third question is, how long does it take to make videos to ever you relax? Well, Stormy, that's a good question. You see, when I do audio stories, they usually don't. I recording them on the spot with no script. I came up with the events in the story as I recording it right on the spot. Like I said, no script at all. Those stories when I record can take around 20 minutes or maybe as 25. It depends. But sometimes I get in the flow of stories, so they can take longer. But um, if we're referring to those with text and music, well, they can actually can take a little bit longer. Sometimes maybe a few hours, maybe a day or two. It depends on how much work I can be doing it, but also it depends on how long the story is gonna be. Because when I make those stories, I never actually set any particular line of how long they can be. They can be from 20 minutes to even 30 minutes and even to an hour long. Though my first stories, they were actually only like from 5 to maybe as 10 minutes. The shortest was around 6, maybe as 9 minutes. So I really don't have any particular thing like that. So how long it takes to make my last stories for audio? Well, maybe the shortest, but for those with text and music, um, I'm going to say it can take a few hours to maybe a couple of days. It depends on how much which story I was going to do and how long the story is going to last. Though that's it. His fourth question is, do you think you'll be able to read more fanfics? For example, Rainbow Dash adopting Scootaloo, raising, taking care of her. I know those sounds stupid, but I feel like those fanfics are the best out there. Well, Stormy, I actually did a story a while back where Rainbow Dash actually adopting Scootaloo after her parents passed away in an accident. Well, that was even way before we actually met her official parents from the official show. So, but and reading fanfics, well, basically never read much fanfiction stories at all. Some of the stories actually that I make are completely of my own imaginations. But I would actually not mind to read some MLP fanfic stories. I mean, I did saw, like, say, Bride of Discord, Daughter of Discord, for example. Those fanfics are amazing work. So I wouldn't mind to read some MLP fanfics. That I can say for certain. His fifth question is, will King Sombra come back in G5? Ooh, now that's a hard question, that's absurd. Well, since technically that Sombra is not even a real pony, but is a shadow pony, so and since it was actually that Discord was brought back in his season nine's premiere, so but since the magic was gone at certain point in the G5 history time, so I may have to say it's maybe potentially that he could return in the G5, unless that he's. I mean, I don't say that he's dead or not, but I don't think that. I think he's probably still alive, but just maybe in some sort of hibernation state or something. But it's the potential that he could be bring back in G5 or even be mentioned. Who knows? It's potential that I could imagine that Sombra could be bring back in G5. But I'm not so certain though, but I'm I'm seeing the potential that he can bring back. His sixth question is, do you think the real Grogar will come back in G5? Ooh, now that's a very interesting question. Well, since we saw Grogar, quote unquote, Grogar showed up in the season 9 premiere and the G4, which was technically revealed to be just Discord in disguise. But since Grogar was actually a real person or a real enemy back in prehistory of Equestria, so but if they actually brought Discord as to being disguised as Grogar, but having an actual Grogar showing up in G5, now that would have been an interesting. But since here's the thing, we know that Grogar wants to rule Equestria by himself, by with fear and terror. But it basically is the same thing as Opaline. She wants to rule the Equestria with fear and not have Ponykinds united. So, but having Opaline as like a Grogar as a female version of him, so but having Grogar returning back in G5, hmm, now that is actually not a bad idea. I think this probably could work out. Consider from that. His seventh question is, do you think we will get some backstory about Opaline? Well, since technically they already had made some sort of backstory of Opaline, but not in the actual show itself, but in the comics. And I know that some of my friends that know that I'm saying that comics are usually not being considered as canon. But this is actually something I would consider as canon. Because early this summer, they actually revealed there was released to be as a number of G5 comic book series. And in one of them were Discord, yes, Discord is still alive, surprising enough. He actually told the main five that this wicked pony was the one that caused the trouble in the backstory. And so that was actually turned out to be Opaline. She was the same pony causing the trouble, spreading out first from Ponyville and rest of the kingdom. So that is the only part of the backstory that we know from the comics. But the only other thing that also not a part of the backstory that we have from the show itself were having Sunny telling the backstory about this how this wicked pony was trying to steal the magic from the Questia. And even though that Misty told her version, where this Alicorn Queen, which is her called herself, which surprising enough though, but I'm actually surprised that. But the all another even brief mention of Opaline's backstory is how she found Misty as a villain, alone, and that she was been raising her ever since by herself. So there is a very possibility that we may even know more about Opaline's backstory later on in the G5 series. I mean, it is very strong, but I am very much eager to know more about her backstory. So far, we only have been known pieces of her backstory. And for that, I am very, very eager to know more about her backstory. His eighth question is: do you think we will get a ship between Hitch and Sip? Well, it is very hard to say for right now, but since we did see back in chapter 2 of G5 on Netflix, there was might have been some indication maybe that there was some sort of romance between Sip and Hitch. But right now, it might be a bit too early to be mentioning that. But I do may think that Hitch either have potential that he could either end up being be with his Sip, Pip, or even Issy, or even perhaps Sunny. After all, he has been a best friend with Sunny for many years. So, but Hitch with Sip, I may have to say that's a very interesting shipping. And like my friend Cody Lane, he wished and hopes that we can see some shipping in the G5. And so a potential ship between Hitch and Sip. Now that's a very interesting idea. That's for certain. I hope maybe that can happen. His ninth question is: can you still do Twilight and Starlight a true love? Yes. I actually have had in mind to do that at some point. The reason why I haven't done it yet is just I forgot about it, and I have to be. But to be fair though, Stormy, a lot of people had asked me to do their stories, and I have found a lot of my stories myself and easily forgotten about it. But I'm not saying that Starlight and Twilight Story were not being able to be made. It will. I will try as soon as possible, and I know I have said that comment statement before so many times, but I hope to have that story maybe done before the end by the end of the year, or maybe as early next year. But I can't say right now when, but it will be made. I promise. His 10th and final question: what is your favorite MLP ship? Ooh. Personally, I think that most of my shipping stories that I have done are like Fluttershy, Discord, Soar and Rainbow Dash, Apple Dash, Rarity with Applejack, and I mean there are so many good ones. But if I had to say my absolute very favorite, it had to be Fluttershy and Discord for certain of that. Because Discord is actually one of my favorite characters in male ones, but not only that, but having this unique lifestyle, or the unique relationship. I mean, Spike and Rarity are some of them, but Discord and Fluttershy is actually my favorite shipping. And well, Stormy, I hope you enjoyed and at least are feeling appreciated about those answers. And once again, thanks. Next questions are from my good friend Cody Lane the Churchyard. He asked me 10 questions. Number 1. Why is every MLOP fan so against support Spike? And he said he deserved better. And I agreed with Cody this one. Spike, for one thing, from the first few seasons was very much like a punching bag for the main six, or basically almost any single character. He wasn't treated as much. even went back in one of the conventions, one of the YouTubers on the Brony community had asked why they don't make Spike as a male leading character, or at least the main character. But the actors they said that they had abused his character in the show as much. But the abuse, or at least that poor treatment of Spike, actually got a little bit better from when he actually got his wings, and that ever since in the last episode, he had actually become the friendship ambassador, and he was actually treated a lot more better by other kinds, especially his friends. But yes, he deserved to be treated even better back in the first few seasons. I was like, why do they do that to him? He's just a baby dragon. They don't do that to the CMC, who also are young, or they don't do that to themselves. So they should have treated Spike a lot better back then. That's for certain. His second question is, will Hitch be shipped with either Sunny, Pip, or Sif in a Christmas special of MLPG5? Now that's an actual good question though. And it is hard to say right now since this that special hasn't been released yet, but I can say that it is hard to say, but I really wish they could actually reveal that Hitch will end up being with one of his friends. But if I personally would have to say, I would have to say that he should end up with either Sip or Sunny. But yeah, it's will he end up one of his friends in that special? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he will end up sometimes in the third chapter that's gonna be include that one. His third question is, will there ever be a chance for Spike appear in G5 as an older, maybe bigger dragon? Well, it is very difficult to say right now, but the potential idea having an older Spike appearing in G5 is quite an amazing one. That I can say for certain. But it is hard to say how much older he is. Apparently, it seems that dragons are aging a little bit slower compared to the ponies are. So if Spike was in early mid 20s in the last episode problem of G4, and since we barely don't know exactly how much time had passed between G4 and G5, but I assuming it lays around as Sunny Spotter Argyle said that that particular blanket has been in their family for 10 generations, which is an ancient artifact. So I assuming that has been at least 100 or maybe 200 years. But the potential that Spike could be returning back in G5 and when being older and maybe a little bit bigger, it is potentially a possibility that I would have loved to see that happen. But we can't say right now because I haven't even heard of any rumors of it or even stories that the potential that Spike would eventually return back in G5. I mean, if I did heard something, I would have told my friends. But having Spike in G5, a little bit like older, is an amazing idea. His fourth question is, why must Discord always be so selfish? He's supposed to be good now, but continues to be his self-interest for chaos and lies with the Grugar incident. Well, first of all, Cody, we know that the spirit of chaos, and in one of the episodes back when he pretend to try to act normal, not been using any of his chaos magic, he would eventually almost faded away. So he can't just stop using his chaos magic. If he did, he would eventually fade it away because since chaos is actually part of his nature. But he is good. But having a selfless, self, um, selfish appearance a nature. It's part of his nature. So I have to say it's maybe the best that he could be still part of that. But sure, he should try to be acting a little bit more normal and not be so selfish. I mean, if you go back in history, he was always that selfish, thinking about himself, used to pay this chaos magic for a use amusement or entertainment for himself, even caused the dead dangerous of others. But now he actually have been using his chaos magic in order to help others, especially when he helped Trixie, Thorax, and Starlight in order to stop Chrysalis for the first time. But I would just say, even though despite his said he can still be a little bit selfish and sometimes, but at least he doing this best as he can to be as a friend to the others. Sure, he may still be a little bit selfish and self-interested of chaos like the Gurgar, but I can understand the reason why he wanted to oppose as Gurgar so he could increase Twilight's self-esteem about to be the next ruler. He would maybe have felt a bit jealous that he wasn't chosen as the next ruler, but he he felt regardless afterwards. But I totally understand where you're coming from, and I agreed. But he should probably try to act less self-interest and a little bit selfish. But he has to be part of that because if he didn't do anything like that, it might change him to fade away also. But I think even a little bit selfish and self-interest is something can may not even be changed. His fifth question is, would there ever be a MLP fan video story about Spike and with his time to shine? It is very difficult to answer that one, but I wish that they were actually. I mean, even if there were no maybe as an official episode that where Spike could be the hero of the day, not the main six. Now, I mean, that would have been a quite amazing story if that happened. I mean, having Spike showing as to have the potential to be a great hero as the main six are, but I really wish that they could have made either a special episode just focused on Spike, like they did with Slice of Life, where they focused on some of the backstory characters like Derpy, Doctor Hoops, and all that. So why didn't they focus on just one single special episode for dedicated for Spike at least? He could be a hero to shine. They did kind of want Spike return this greed mode, but that's it. I think that they should probably done at least one video that he could shine. Well, I think they may have done that when they end up in this comic book, when he actually convinced how to help the main six to defeat the crazy villain in the comic book series. But maybe not did not want to count the same, but just have one episode focus on Spike to shine. I agreed that you coded that would have been an amazing potential idea. His sixth question is, do you think Tarek, Kozakalo, and Chrysalis might appear in G5? Ooh, no, that's a little bit tricky, but considering that they were turning to stone in the last episode, and even though in the season 10 comic book series, when that statue was cracking apart, releasing them, which I consider that one is not canon, so. But having the trio, which I call them as having appear in G5, well, it's actually not a bad idea. I mean, if the main five manage to defeat Opaline finally, totally, forever, or maybe convert her to the friendship list, the friendship side. I mean, turning her to the good side, and having the trio somehow released, or escape and planning to return to restore the Ecclesia to their own minds and their plans. Now that would have been something. having the trio released in the Quest in G5. No, that's a good idea. His simple question is, should have Rarity be more attached to Spike? Because he said, because I'm tired of her ignoring him and feeling more attached to other guys. Well, it is very difficult to say if she even is aware of Spike's feelings towards her. Yeah, I mean, if even if she is aware of his feelings towards her, like romantically, maybe she is aware of that, but not ignoring that because maybe for just good reason. Considering that she's in her 20s and he is a baby dragon, maybe that she didn't feel that was the right thing to do. But though we don't even know how the laws work in Equestria, if a pony is even allowed to be dating a dragon, even if it's a baby dragon. Even if they were dating, they may have done it off screen in secret. Not only like their friend, the main six friends knows about it, but I understand that Cody has a good point. Why that they should that Reddy should be more attached to Spike, but maybe that she wasn't attached to Spike in the same way during the time when he was a baby dragon, but when he started to grow up a little bit more, when he appeared to be in his teenage years, when he get a bit taller, maybe that is possibility. I mean, it is very possible that she may later on actually felt attracted towards Spike when he got a bit older. I mean, I can understand for a reason maybe Rarity was maybe saw him not the same way as maybe as a brother at the time, maybe just saw him as a friend. But that was most relationship starts though. Some actually can see each other as friends, but as they getting closer, they get to know each other better, and over time, it could evolve into something more than just friendship. Maybe this could be in the case between Rarity and Spike. Considering that Spike was just a baby dragon until when he got his wings. But he didn't grow any, like, he only grew maybe just slight taller when he got his wings. So there is possibility that maybe Rarity and Spike wasn't even officially or romantically involved until when he had reached his teenage years. So there is a very possibility Spike and Rarity may have been romantically involved in the last episode when he was the friendship ambassador. Even though we never saw that any sort of romantic involvement between them or any some sort of interactions. But may have to say it's a very possibility that they could happen. But Cody has a point. Ryder should be more attached to Spike, but maybe that she did eventually when he got a little bit older. That's the only way I can say for certain that he may have been attached to Rarity when he got a little bit older. His eighth question is, which MLP villain do you dislike most? Oh, well, I mean, you wouldn't count Discord since he actually got reformed, and I may have to say, well, the only ones that I can consider as that I dislike the most. I mean, and also Grugar cannot be counted since that was Discord in disguise, so technically that would not count. But only one that I actually dislike the most is actually Tirak. Tirak is the only one that I dislike the most of all. Considering his ignorance and his willingness to betray those he considering as allies. That is the stupid was the reason why I dislike this Tirak the most. And Cody Lane's 9 question is, do you think the MLOPG5 characters would ever met Transformers in some crossover episode special or something like that? Hmm. No, that is actually a very interesting idea. I know that back in only about a year ago or so, Hasbro actually made a comic book series only up for I think it was 6 or 8 issues where Transformers actually encounters G5, the the main six in from back in G4, So having the Transformers appearing in G5, well, I mean, it's not as unlikely though. But also the thing is, I don't know if the crossover between the G4 and Transformers are considered as canon, since that was actually in comic book series only, and majority of those comic books of the G4 are considered as non-canon, according to me at least. But having the idea of Transformers appearing in G5, I'm not so sure, but it's a very not a bad idea. It's just never thought about it. But it's an interesting thought, actually. I may have to agree that it might be a potential on that. Cody Lane's 10 and last question is, any chance you can still do Big Macintosh and Octavia a true love? The answer is yes. Even though I haven't even worked on it yet, but I do have the, the pictures and some of their kits that they've been found. I just hadn't been able to focus on it yet since I have been focused on some other projects as stories in first, but I will try as soon as possible to do it. And I know I saying that often. But as many people ask me to do their stories, and after a while I forget to buy some other people's stories. But Cody, don't worry, I will try to make the story as soon as possible. But if it end up being as an audio story, it is maybe as the reason that could also happen if I. And the reason if I did that, in fact, is only because I want to save some time and make it to focus on other stories. But it will be done as soon as possible. I make you my promise on that for sure. Next question is from Kovu the Bad Boy, one of my friends. Hey Swedish, here's my question. If you could have get any mares from LMLP, both from Friendship is Magic and G5, as many as you want, which mares would you want to be with? Oh, well, from the GMLP friend G4, that is actually quite only a few that I would been if I was the pony myself. And from G4, it would be Fluttershy, Luna, Twilight. And from G5, that's quite simple. Issy, Sunny, and Pip. I'm not surprising that Pip is one of those, but she is actually not a bad character. I mean, not surprising that there are fans out there that dislike Pip because of her focus on the social media star, but come on, she's actually not that bad character. She's may have just been disliked some, but yeah, that's all of that. And the last question is from my friend Deanna. She asked me, how did you get 8,000 subscribers? Well, Deanna, all I can say is hard work, and patience. I know that, and to be honest, I never even imagined I would even to reach 8,000 subscribers. If I had to be fairly honest here, I only thought maybe I would reach maybe as 1,000 or even 1,200 at most. And I wasn't really attendantly to make so many love stories and even focus on MLP love stories as a long-term plan. There were only going to be only a handful until I would decide to make on some other stories. But since people loved my story so much, I continued, and all the hard work and patience is had paid off so much. And that is the why I actually got the 8,000 subscribers. And considering how many other YouTubers actually got a lot more than I did. But I'm actually saying hard work and patience is what I get. Well, everyone, that was all the questions that I actually have from my this current Q&A video. About 20 plus video questions I have been asked to me, and I appreciate every single one as always. Because if you don't ask me the questions, you will never get the answers from me. And the next Q&A video that I might do, well, it won't be for a while. Not until I reached 8,500 or 8,500 subscribers. And since I'm about around 8,000, closer as 8,100. So it won't be for a while though. But until then, next Q&A video will be at 8,500 subscribers. And once again, everyone, thank you for the questions. I really, really appreciate it. Once again, this is Switch Diablo signing off.